Second week into the launch, our team continued to work from home amid the current pandemic. 100% of our staff are working from home across different locations in and out of the city. With zero outages amid the scattered locations, we are delivering services to our counterparts in Australia at the full capacity. We've also dispatched several couriers to ensure we get the remaining corporate items ahead of our first payout from GSI. We are also very consistent when it comes to keeping our staff happy and engaged. Last week, we continued with our traditional weekly selfie challenge where we all wore our new corporate items. Pictures were posted on our internal group site with the person with the most votes won the event. We also continued with our virtual race in proud support of World Vision Philippines. As we all committed to run for education, each volunteer had committed to run for 21 kilometers. We have until the 15th of July to complete the race. And that's it for the week's edition of the Weekly Wrap. For more information about Gill Solutions Inc., you may visit our website at gillsolutionsinc.com.au. You may also follow us on LinkedIn and like us on Facebook for more news and updates. My name is Nali. Thank you for watching. Have a fantastic week ahead.
Last week was one of the most exciting weeks we have in Manila. Starting from technology, no major impact to productivity was experienced last week. Only a few outages in Windows Virtual Desktop, concentrated at the end of the week, but was nevertheless resolved after a few hours. We also launched Hyperlocal, a quick video touring different places in the country. The first episode was hosted by Neri, who showed us great sceneries in Laurel, Batangas, as well as the breathtaking views of the Taal and surrounding areas. Still on social media, we hit 3,000 followers across Facebook and LinkedIn. Jel, our VP and COO, published a note of thanks to all who supported us during the transition. Releasing notes in both English and Filipino, he also mentioned GSI's continued commitment to showcase our staff's talents in social media through shows like Hyperlocal and the Weekly Review. Lastly, one of the most awaited events in the week, the announcement of this fiscal year's promotion. Amid the ongoing pandemic, GSI pushed through with the awarding movements for its much-deserving staff members. More about these in the video published earlier this week. And that's it for this week's wrap. For more information about Gill Solutions Inc., please visit our website, guildsolutionsinc.com.au. You may also follow us on LinkedIn and Facebook using the social media handles you are seeing on your screens. For this week's wrap, my name is John. Stay safe to all and have a great week ahead.
This edition of GSI Thought Leaders is made possibly by Guild Solutions Incorporated, helping your business grow. Email us at enablingyou@guildsolutionsinc.com.au to understand how we can help you sustain and improve your business operations. And Enabling Media, enabling content through new media. Email us at makethingshappen@guildgroup.com.au to find out how we can help your business achieve more.
Hello, good day to all of you. To our viewers watching from Australia, good afternoon. To all of you watching us in North America, good morning. And to all of you watching here at home and in Asia, good morning. 2 weeks ago, we started our first ever live stream entitled Lods with our special guest, Belle Baldosa. We surely learned a lot from her as she narrated how she overcame hurdles and challenges through perseverance and fortitude. You can catch the previous episodes of Lods on our YouTube account or stream on Spotify. Today, we will be speaking to Guild Group's Head of Learning, Nick Velevski. Nick will tell us how learning and development evolved during a time where most of us are locked in our homes. These episodes of Thought Leaders are made possible by Guild Solutions and Enabling Media. For our viewers in the Philippines, we will be flashing information on your screen on how to request for a certificate of attendance throughout this event to avoid distraction and ensure maximum participation. The form will only be made active at certain times of this event, so please watch out for announcements. Joining me in moderating today's shows are my co-moderators, Kim, Malen, and Pancho. So we will take a look at the social media real quick. Hi everyone, Malen, hello from Taguig. I can see as well viewers using YouTube, streaming us on YouTube. Evelyn Balauro, Anna Rose Hilawan, good morning everyone. And Miss Lynn, hi Miss Lynn from Taguig. We also have Mary Joy Buston from Pampanga, hi from Pampanga. Daniel Marie Ayo from Osamis City, hi everyone. Thank you for joining us. Thank you everyone for joining us. So, alright, if you have any questions regarding the show or if you have questions directly for Nick, don't forget to type them in. And we're streaming live on Facebook, YouTube, and for the first time in LinkedIn. We are now transitioning to the main show. You're watching Thought Leaders with Nick Velevski.
Previously on Lods.
How are you?
We got to know more about Belle.
So good to see you again. And hello to everyone. Good
How she
morning.
conquered the biggest names in the tech industry.
I was doing interviews like at Facebook then, and I saw a job ad on LinkedIn for a PR manager at Spotify, and because music has been such a big part of my life growing up, music and writing in particular. And so I've been watching Spotify since they've been, launched globally. And I was very, very curious about when they would be available in Asia. So when
What kept her going against all odds.
And so from then on, as the eldest person in the family, I've had to assume a more grown up, athlete, right? I had to grow up overnight.
Watch the full episode on our YouTube channel or stream the podcast version on Spotify. This and other inspiring stories and learning events only here on Enabling Media, enabling content through new media.
I'm Ian. Welcome to Guild Solutions. Guild Solutions is a wholly owned subsidiary of the Guild Group of companies based in Australia. Guild Solutions itself is headquartered in Manila and offers bespoke solutions for companies that require unique or have challenging business needs. How do we do this? Simple. We hire the best people, we foster the best culture, and we give those people a new and interesting challenge every day to allow them to grow and develop and move on to bigger and better things. And for our clients, what this means, we don't see problems, we only see solutions. We think differently and we're proactive, and most importantly, we make things happen. And all the while we do this while having lots of fun. So that's a really quick snapshot of Guild Solutions. It's been great meeting you, and I look forward to seeing you again.
This edition of GSI Thought Leaders is made possibly by Guild Solutions Incorporated, helping your business grow. Email us at enablingyou@guildsolutionsinc.com.au to understand how we can help you sustain and improve your business operations. And Enabling Media, enabling content through new media. Email us at makethingshappen@guildgroup.com.au to find out how we can help your business achieve more.
Good day to all of you. To our viewers watching us from Australia, good afternoon. If you're watching from the other side of the globe, good evening. And to all of you here in Asia back home, good morning. My name is Jel, and welcome to the very first edition of Thought Leaders, where we feature our very own experts in Guild Group to share us their knowledge and expertise. We are being joined today by our social media lead moderator and co-host, whom you've met earlier, Maika Sotare, together with Kim Regala, Malin Ebias, and Pancho Madlansakay. Today's guest is one of the friendliest faces in Guild Group. He earned his bachelor's degree in business management, majoring in human resources from RMIT. He also has professional experience with many different industries, including manufacturing, retail, logistics, and financial services. For those who know him, it would be no surprise to witness his career flourish in learning, being very naturally passionate about it. Joining us since 2018, Nick headed learning in Guild and has overseen and delivered the launch of many competency and capability framework for the group, numerous products for Guild Insurance, a new learning management system, and in the middle of the pandemic, launched the Guild Group Leadership Academy. Friends, join me in welcoming our very special guest for today, live from Melbourne, our head of learning, Guild Group's head of learning, Nick Velevski. Hey, Nick. Hey, Nick, how are you?
Good afternoon, Joe.
Hey, how are things over there?
Yeah, going well.
All right. We'll just try to resolve some connection issues for Nick.
Can you hear me now, Joe?
We can hear you now, Nick. Can you hear me well? All right, we'll just try to resolve that in a few minutes. And then we'll go back with Nick shortly. Apologies for that. If you have any questions regarding the show, our social media moderators are active throughout Facebook, LinkedIn, and YouTube. Just so any questions, just type them in and we'll be happy to answer them for you. Also, some of you might ask how to request for a certificate of attendance for today. We'll flash that later on your screens. Can you hear us now, Nick?
Yes, I can hear you. Am I coming
All right,
through?
there you go. Yes, you're coming in very clearly. Thank you for joining us today, Nick. How are things?
Yeah, going well. Thanks, Joel. Appreciate the invite first and foremost to join the session today. And good morning to everyone there in the Philippines and throughout Asia, and afternoon to everyone here in Australia, and hello to everyone else wherever you may be joining us across the globe. Going well, based here in Melbourne. So yeah, we're in the middle of summer at the moment. We're having a late summer here. And we've just come out of a short and sharp lockdown. So we were under some, heightened restrictions over the last 5 or so days. And as of midnight last night, they were relaxed. So we've got a little bit, more freedom and flexibility to go about our lives down here, which is great.
That's nice to hear. So your situation over there is not very different from what we have here in Manila. So I guess the viewers would be able to learn much from you today, being the experience is quite parallel from what you guys went through over there and how instantaneously it evolved and things like that. But before we go into the details, Nick, let's just try and understand from your perspective, why is still learning, significant nowadays, that people might just focus on the more essential things? Why is still learning still more significant? Hey, Nick, can you hear us?
I can now. Sorry about that, Joe. I'm not too sure what's happening here.
That's all right. That's
about my perspective.
That's how remote working works. That's okay. Why is the learning more important nowadays, Nick?
Well, I think if there's one thing that this pandemic has shown, I guess myself as a learning and an HR professional, is that individuals and companies, if they don't continue to learn and evolve with the times, you'll quickly be left behind, and competitors in your marketplaces and talent and individuals alike will quickly surpass you. So the reality is the world stops for nobody, and the rate at which the world continues to evolve is quite astonishing in my mind. When I was reflecting on what I was going to be discussing today, I was thinking about how far things have come over the last couple of decades alone, from the introduction of PCs to the internet to smartphones, and it's all of these things that we actually take for granted now that only a couple of decades ago were non-existent. And they've had a heavy influence on how we've worked over the last number of years. And as humans, we adapt, we continue to learn. And if it wasn't for all of this technology and change, the last 12 months and responding to COVID would have been a lot more difficult, particularly in the white-collar industry, as we've all had to transition to remote work. I feel that we've needed to adapt and respond to the situation. And in many respects, none of us have experienced a pandemic during our lifetimes. And like you said earlier, what in particular Melbourne or Victoria has gone through is quite similar to what you may have experienced there in the Philippines, in the sense that Melbourne and Victoria had the toughest restrictions across the country. We obviously had the most case numbers and the like. I'm sure that was well publicised. But we're now hopefully coming out on the tail end of that, and we've responded well. People have been they've been able to demonstrate immense amount of flexibility to get through these times. And I think that if you don't demonstrate that flexibility, and you're not challenging yourself to evolve, and you rest on your laurels and you think that, hey, what I've done before will be good enough moving forward, why should I have to change? Well, I think that that's a fairly dangerous mindset to have.
Thank you for that insight, Nick. And I completely agree with you. What we've gone through here may not be very different from how Guild tried to go through within the past 12 months, most especially about 12 months ago when this pandemic really kicked in. And we're all surprised by it, almost instantaneous lockdowns throughout the country, here in the Philippines and there in Australia. Guild had to adapt quickly to the changing times. Can you walk us through, Nick, from your experience, because you're in the center of all these, how did Guild manage to transition to new ways of learning?
Yeah, well, there was a lot of things that we did. We had to pivot, and that's some terminology that we use here at Guild quite often, and it had to happen real quick. Like you said, it was on relatively, short or no notice. Within a day or two, we had to transition everyone to working remotely. But just like most companies across the globe, we had no choice. And fortunately, it all worked out. We pulled through it with some good planning and a little bit of luck along the way as well. So I thought to help try and paint the picture of how we responded to it as Guild, I'll share a couple of stories of the situation that presented itself to us specifically as a learning function, and then how we transitioned during that time. And although they are specific examples to Guild, the principles that underpin how we transitioned, I feel, are highly transferable. So the listeners and the viewers today, can you hear me there, Joel? Are you there, Joel? Joel, can I just get confirmation that I'm coming through on your end? I'm hoping that some of the listeners and viewers will be able to still hear me. So in the interest of that, I will continue to push on, and hopefully it's coming through. So one thing to note here is that there was no playbook. No one knew definitively, what the exact path was going to be. Approach, as I mentioned earlier, and sometimes things don't go to plan. Technology might drop out like it is today. It might be a little bit choppy, but we continue to persevere. And I think everyone's, like I said, a lot more understanding. We know that we've got, lives that we need to continue living outside of work, and there'll be other influences. But at the end of the day, there still is a job to be the best that they possibly can. But from a learning point,
About that, Nick. And for everyone who's watching, I think we're back. Can you hear us well, Nick, from your end?
I can. Yes, I can.
All right. Sorry about that. Please proceed, Nick.
So a couple of the examples that I want to touch on. One's in regards to a specific training program that we did roll out. So within Guild Group, one of our primary businesses is Guild Insurance, and we were launching a new pet insurance product across Australia in partnership with Coles, which is one of the largest supermarket retailers in the country, and they also offer a range of insurance products as well. So to help set the scene, this was a project that we were working on for the best part of a year, so it wasn't something that now, as part of a new product launch, we deliver a comprehensive training program to support the team members for the launch of those products. And it includes collateral such as online training modules, quick reference guides, and then it all generally comes together with a face-to-face training session where we revisit the content, but the team members are able to, more importantly, apply their knowledge through role plays and case studies. And I feel this is where it all does come together, where they're able to showcase their learnings. We've achieved really great results from delivering face-to-face training programs in the past when we've had the opportunity and the luxury to be in the office, because people learn from each other just as much as what they might learn, whether it be from a learning function or any other expert outside of their direct team, but they learn just as much from each other, and they share ideas and they collaboratively enhance their skills. Remotely. Now, given the option of face-to-face was then no longer available, what we immediately needed to commence doing was purposing and updating and transposing the content to ensure that it was going to be fit for purpose in a new virtually facilitated format. It's not as easy to just say that we are going to take whatever we do face-to-face and then it will automatically work in a virtual format. Unfortunately, it doesn't quite work like that. Many of the activities and the content, you develop it specifically based on having, the audience there in front of you. So we needed to update our content, and it was as much a learning experience for us as a learning team as it was for the team members attending the training. So one of the ways that we prepared or helped prepare our team members going into this training was we developed a virtual learning trailer. We wanted to assist in setting the expectations for these prospective team members in advance, making sure it worked. And let me tell you, we did test today's technology and it did work. So I hope it's still coming through loud and clear. Making sure that cameras work, because one of the things or the advantages of having face-to-face training is that as a facilitator, you're able to read the room and gauge how the session is actually going. Now, if team members dialing into virtual training or online training don't have their cameras on, it can make it quite difficult to be able to gauge and respond to how the team are going or receiving that content. So it was a short, snappy, 1.5 minute video that everyone had access to, and it just the content, we rejigged it to make sure that it was fit for purpose in the new format. And fortunately, the feedback was really, really positive from the participants. I do feel as though, and I can vouch for this, initially you may have been quite skeptical attending an online training session if it wasn't something that you were used to. But as a learning team, we carefully tweaked the session, the format and the content to make sure that it was fit for purpose. And by preparing the attendees in advance, it went a long way to achieving a successful outcome. And ultimately, we rolled out the product training, we launched the product, and it has been a great success to date, some 10 months down the track. So that's an example of a particular training program that was already in the pipeline that we had to adjust during the delivery phase. But the next example I'll touch on is more in response to, or I guess a direct response to COVID and how we supported our team members to transition to remote work during this period, both on a professional and a personal level. So we know as humans that we each have our own personalities and preferences for how we live our lives, and we each as well have a way that we like to learn. So our guild team members, by transitioning to working from home on short notice, we started to get a grasp of the scale of what we were going through. And like I said, there was no playbook. We didn't have the answers from the outset, but it was something that we were constantly monitoring and adjusting our response ongoing for this. And what we realized was that team members were going to have a varied experience and varied challenges based on their own individual or personal circumstances. Outside of work, everyone's got their own personal lives, whether there's children, everything went, to remote schooling very quickly. There's caring responsibilities. There's other curveballs that, life throws at us. So everyone had to respond to their own unique challenges, as well as, fronting up to work on a daily basis and making sure that they were doing everything that they could, for their respective roles at Guild. So one of the way infographics and even TED Talks and YouTube videos. We know that there was a huge amount of, we knew that there was a huge amount of content available online. So we didn't feel as though we had to, try and develop all of our own content. We tried to leverage what was already there to particularly assist with the short turnaround times that were required. But the challenge that presented itself, it did take time to find reliable studies and information at times. And it's, likely that if an individual had to go off on their own and do their own research and, try and find the answers for themselves, if, let's say in loose terms, if 10 individuals went off and did their own research, we're probably going to get 10 different sets of outputs. So to mitigate this, that's why we as a learning team spent, countless days and hours and weeks, in many cases, finding the suitable content for Guild to make sure that it was relevant to our industry and geographical locations that we operate within. It allowed for the content to be timely and on demand. And so that way there was a greater uptake by team members as well. We weren't saying to them, you must attend this session to be privy to this content that we're going to deliver. It was available to them at a convenient time that suited themselves. And what we quickly identified was that there was evolving key themes that team members were, experiencing, and we garnered that from feedback across different surveys that we conducted as well. So we constantly had our finger on the pulse there to understand exactly what our team members were experiencing. And what we did there as well, so in addition to that online library of content, to complement that and make sure that that peer learning that I touched on earlier from these face-to-face sessions was able to be achieved or derived as well, we also utilised bite-sized learning sessions. So these bite-sized sessions, they will generally run for 30 minutes, and there was great discussion generated during those sessions themselves, because at Guild, we're quite unique in terms of our structure, and we've got 8 separate businesses. So this peer learning that took place across all of the 8 separate businesses, including our shared services functions, was invaluable. And I felt as though they learnt, or individuals probably learnt just as much from each other as what they did from any of the, the formal or the official content that was released. So there are a couple of examples around specific initiatives that we tweaked or implemented as a direct result to continue our learning culture at Guild during COVID and not putting development on the back burner until things return to normal. Because there's one, there's one, it's a meme or an image that you may have seen online, whether it be on social media or otherwise. But I think to articulate, what we were going through, it really does hit home. And it's that, you may have heard of it, Jel. It's the, the CFO having a discussion with the CEO, and the quote or the discussion goes something like this, where the CFO says, well, what happens if we invest in our people and then they leave? To which the CEO responds, well, what happens if we don't invest and our people stay? So I think that, in a nutshell, sums up why I feel as though it is, more critical now than ever to continue investing in learning, whether it be yourself or your team or your broader organisation, if you're in a dedicated HR or learning function, for the viewers and listeners online today. Because if you don't, that is probably something that will come back down the track and have a detrimental impact on the organisation. And I feel, just to sum up here, there's been a few key takeaways that we as a learning team have identified during this, the last 10 or so months that we've been working relatively remotely here in Australia, and in particular Melbourne. And I feel as though these areas are highly transferable into other organisations and industries. But my recommendation from a learning point of view is that blended modalities are best. You need to provide learning collateral in a variety of modes to foster an enhanced learning experience and accommodate individuals' learning preferences. So I touched on earlier around everyone's got their own personality and behavioural traits, and they like to disseminate or absorb information in their own certain ways. This is, I guess, where that relates. Making sure that you use the different modes to get the key information or the messages across to a broad range of individuals. And the larger your team or organisation, the more critical this becomes. Use videos, use articles, infographics as supplementary material. Provide online modules. These are a great way to build knowledge, and it can be customised as well. And this is something that we've been focusing on here at Guild, in particular over the last 10 or so months. But as well, case studies and scenarios and role plays. They're the closest way to experiencing what it's going to be in the real world. And that's a great opportunity for individuals to do it in a safe environment and learn from each other before they have to go and replicate that in their frontline roles, whatever their function might be. It could be technical training, related to whether it's legislation or products or systems, but it is also very relevant to behavioural training as well. So obviously it's not going to be possible to do all of these for every training program, but that's where, as training and HR professionals, that's where you undertake your training needs analysis at the outset to make sure that you identify what is appropriate. But one thing as well that stood out in particular when delivering online training, so sessions like today, because we have relied on it very heavily and received really good feedback at Guild, is I would strongly suggest that 90 minutes is probably the upper end of the duration for a session. Any longer, and we've started to notice that engagement and ultimately the benefit derived from the sessions may begin to be compromised. So in saying that, look, 90 minutes is a long time, so you need to still make sure that there is an engaging mix of content, ensuring to get the cohort involved where possible as well today. So, for example, with today's session, get involved with the chat, ask questions. The more that you put into it, ultimately, the more that you'll get out of it as well. And maximise the technology is my other recommendation here as well. Regardless of what platforms you use, whether it's Microsoft Teams or whether you use Zoom as a video conferencing tool, all of these different platforms have really great features like breakout rooms and reactions and chat. So use them to your advantage and introduce other technology as well. It makes it for a much more engaging learning experience. And I can vouch for that, I guess, being on the receiving end of training, just as much as receiving the feedback from sessions that we have facilitated as a learning team at Guild. So do things like polls and surveys and quizzes, do some trivia as well along the way. That might help generate a bit of discussion and excitement. And there's a lot of great free online tools as well that can help you with this. So, regardless of whether, you've got a dedicated budget or not, there are tools out there available for you to utilise to your advantage. But ultimately, we must continue to challenge the status quo so that we continue to develop as individuals and be curious. And this will go a long way to your own self-development and raising the bar, not only for yourself, but the team and individuals that you're working alongside as well.
Thanks very much, Nick. These are very good points. And I think for all of us here in Guild, it wouldn't be surprising for us to face to take these kinds of approach, being a company that's it has very deep commitment to diversity and inclusion, and also empathy, most especially during these times where, people and work at life and work at home. Work at home and work in the office has now combined into one, and you would have to take Kara thinks, multitasking and all that, most especially for those who have children at home, we have to respect that reality as well. You mentioned blended modalities are important and things like that. And I think this is where empathy and understanding where our employees or our staff may be coming from would actually fit in, so that we understand what kind of approach is better. But at the same time, what I'm gathering, Nick, correct me if I'm wrong, is you're saying that one size does not definitely fit all, most especially during these times. Is that correct?
Yeah, you've hit the nail on the head there, Joel. One size doesn't fit all. And like I said, the larger your team or the audience or the organization that you're trying to target by way of the learning program that you're looking to deliver, the more cognizant you need to be of the fact that there's going to be very different styles and personalities in there. I, for one, am not one to, sit there and, read a book from cover to cover. I learn by doing.
All right, we just lost Nick there for a quick while. Are you back, Nick?
I'm back, yes.
Yeah, sorry, go ahead. You were saying something before the line got cut. Sorry about that.
Yes, so one size certainly doesn't fit all, and you need to take that into account, because some individuals will like to sit there and read manuals or guides from cover to cover, whilst others learn by doing. And if you don't take into account the different learning styles, I feel as though you'll quickly lose the engagement from particular individuals, and then they won't have the best learning experiences. And ultimately, whatever the topic is that's being delivered, whether it's of a technical or a behavioural nature, you won't ultimately see the desired change that you're looking at from a learning or an HR perspective. So one size doesn't fit all. We need to, as learning professionals, adapt our style and deliverables to make sure that we cater for the different styles.
Mm-hmm. And this is a good reminder for leaders like me as well, that there may be some members of your team who are introverts, who doesn't like to turn on their videos all the time and things like that, and we have to understand and respect that. And it's our job as people leaders to find out what works for them. So I think that's a very good point. Thank you, Nick. Now, during these times, it's very easy to focus on the negative, isn't it? Because when you turn on Facebook, you turn on social media, all of the news that are coming out of there are 90% negative. But in terms of, from your perspective, Nick, at least from the perspective of someone who's working in the learning and development team, are there good things that came out of this pandemic?
I certainly think so. You're certainly right in regards to when you go online or listen to the news on television or the radio or read the papers. But more importantly, focus on the good that comes out of a particular situation. And the things that I've noticed in particular during COVID is that empowering people certainly has its benefit. And there's is critical. So people have developed a lot, but in many respects, they've done it in an informal way, and they probably haven't even placed much emphasis or focus on it. And I'm sure many of the listeners and viewers today would be fairly familiar with the 70-20-10 learning framework developed in the 1980s by 3 US researchers. But for those that aren't, a very quick synopsis, it basically works on the notion that 70% of people's learning or development takes place on the job, so the practical hands-on. 20% through exposure. So that can be through your networks, your coaching, your mentoring, those social sort of connections. And then 10% through formal education. Now, it's not set in stone. Those numbers aren't, fixed. And obviously it will vary depending on roles and organisations or what stage of your career you're at. But it's useful as an indicative guide, and strongly encourage you to have a look into that if you're not familiar with the framework. So that was the 70-20-10 learning framework. And what it does say is that, or I guess as an example, everyone's capability in digital platforms, I for one, with Microsoft Teams, I've improved drastically. Given Microsoft is our platform here at Guild, I wasn't all that familiar with it from the outset, but I learnt a lot by doing on the job. And I think that cannot be underestimated. My knowledge improved over time. It was complemented with some additional support from within the organisation, but a lot of it was learning by doing. And what that demonstrates is that we've got an appetite for learning as humans, even when we're time poor. I think the key here is that sometimes we just don't make it a priority unless it's imposed upon us, like COVID has. So don't underestimate the amount of learning that you can do on the job. And people need to be empowered and ultimately take ownership for their own development as well. So that's one that stood out to me. One of the other benefits I feel has been, and I mentioned it earlier around bite-sized learning. We've always done it at Guild, but to varying degrees. And I believe traditionally, people's perception of training is considered to be more the structured classroom type activities, or you go and you complete a particular module online, and once that is completed, you revert back to your day job, and you're expected to implement it thereafter. But it's difficult for individuals to devote the time these days with so many competing priorities. And inevitably, operational requirements probably take priority at some points, in which case I think those full-day workshops may not be as common as what they once were. So transforming learning programs into more bite-sized pieces, I feel, has created greater flexibility and opportunity for learners themselves to attend and ensure they devote the time that's required to their own development. And it's ultimately, I feel, had a twofold benefit here. People are able to actually attend because, it might only be a 60 or a 90-minute session that they need to attend as opposed to a full-day workshop. But as well, if you've got a full-day workshop and you break that up, let's say, into 4 or 5 chunks, what you're then able to do is stagger that across the course of a month or so. And where individuals are provided these bite-sized learnings, they're then able to take it away, apply it, practice it, take some key learnings, bring it back to the session in the subsequent week, and continue learning with the remainder of the group as well. So I feel as though they are, a couple of really good things that have inadvertently come out of this pandemic in regards to learning specifically.
Thanks, Nick. And I think from my perspective, in people management, trust is playing a big part in all of these. And when you mentioned that we need to empower people, that really is a very striking word. And I didn't realize it has, it needs to happen in the field of learning as well, which is really a good thing. Fast forward to maybe 12 months from now, Nick. Nobody expected this pandemic to happen. I think maybe maybe only a few expected that a pandemic in this scale would happen in the modern times. But most of us who are working, most especially in the white collar industry, didn't expect a pandemic like this. I mean, the aviation industry is scrambling at the moment to stand up. The tourism industry is scrambling as well. Only a small portion of all the industries in the entire world are actually surviving this pandemic. In the field of learning, though, and I know that the forecast or your outlook may have changed over the past 12 months, but what do you think would be the future of L&D now that this pandemic has happened? And it's, who knows, maybe this is already the new normal.
Yeah, so look, I, for one, did not expect that, the pandemic would occur to this sort of scale. And I felt as though, maybe, probably wrongly, quite naive at that point in time. I thought, look, particularly in Melbourne or Australia, by June, July, we'll have this thing well and truly under control. Lo and behold, we're nearly 12 months down the track and still obviously having a significant impact on us. So I do feel as though, this pandemic in itself will shift and change the world as we know it in so many different respects, in particular, whether it be the professional services world or the white collar or the learning world, just as much as any other. And I feel as though digital or digitizing learning will be a way of the future. Whether it's in the next 12 months or so, to its fullest or complete extent, time will tell. I feel as though face-to-face will always have an element of, being included within a training program, but more and more learning will be online, just, like today's event is. So where it's facilitated virtually or available online and on demand, and a clear example of that is universities across the globe. You can attend a university anywhere across the globe now because they pretty much all offer online programs. It's become more and more common over the last 5 to 10 years, and I feel as though it will be more and more prevalent within the white-collar industries across the world as well. Ultimately, people want to learn when it's convenient for them, and we know that if you have to be somewhere at a specific time, life will throw a curveball. Self-development often does take a back step, as much as we don't like to admit it. That will be the first thing that you put on the back burner because there's all these other pressing priorities. So that's where self-paced and on-demand learning will become more and more prevalent in years to come. And I was reading an article earlier this week, actually, and it was about one of the major supermarket chains here in Australia, Woolworths. They recently announced that they're investing 50 million Australian dollars into a new Future of Work fund. And they'll be spending that on upskilling and redeploying their 60,000 odd team members across the country over the next 3 years. And as part of that, what they're doing is launching a new online learning platform, and they'll initially focus on some technical areas such as digital analytics, machine learning and robotics. And this is just one prime example of, in Australia at least, a prominent employer heavily investing in technology and their people to prepare their workforce for the future. And I feel more and more companies will be going down this path in the years to come. Off the back of that, predictive learning is an area that will become more and more, prevalent and available across different organisations. Enhanced artificial intelligence to recommend what learning you could benefit from. It's already happening to some extent. Some individuals may be familiar with LinkedIn Learning. That is a good example based on what you've searched, what you've completed, what your professional title is, what your position title is as well. It will identify and recommend courses based on that and what other individuals of a similar background have potentially undertaken. So it's using data to help guide and influence individuals' career pathways as well. So that's another one there. I touched on it earlier around we at Guild, like many organisations, they don't have the luxury of time. So we weren't able to actually invest in developing all of our own content specifically in regards to how we were going to transition people. And because things are changing at a rapidly evolving pace, the need for content curation over content creation will be, I feel, more and more important moving forward. So use the internet to your advantage. There is a huge amount of information out there. My only counsel here would be is make sure that it is fit for purpose. For as many sound, tried and tested research studies that there are online, there's probably just as many, if not more, that aren't as robust. So my recommendation there would be ensure to make sure that what content you are going to reference online fits the purpose of your organisation. But between TED Talks, YouTube, a lot of different consulting firms are publishing white papers. Harvard Business, they put out a lot of great free content as well. So utilize that to your advantage, alongside leveraging all other technology as well. Technology is going to be the way of the future, more so than ever now. And, particularly the world of in-office presence for the white-collar industries will not be the same as, what it was 12 or 18 months ago, in which case you need to utilize technology to your advantage here. So they're probably, I guess, the key areas that I feel the learning space evolving in, whether it be in the next 12, to 24 months.
Wow, we've covered a lot of information. Nick, thank you very much. Now, we'll allot a portion of our time for Q&A, and I'm sure our viewers are excited to ask questions directly to you. For all of you watching us right now, just go ahead and type in your questions. We'll scour through social media during our break, but please stay with us. We're just gonna pause for a short break. We're gonna scour through your questions, and we're gonna ask Nick when we come back from the short break. Friends, you're watching Thought Leaders with Nick Velevski. Please stay with us. We'll be right back.
This edition of GSI Thought Leaders is made possibly by Guild Solutions Incorporated, helping your business grow. Email us at enablingyou@guildsolutionsinc.com.au to understand how we can help you sustain and improve your business operations. And Enabling Media, enabling content through new media. Email us at makethingshappen@guildgroup.com.au to find out how we can help your business achieve more.
Good day. Amidst the imposed community quarantine, our offshore operations team continued to deliver 98% capacity last week, while working from home across different locations in and out of the city. With zero client-related outages and minimal system issues, we remain stable and continue to provide excellent throughput. Also, as our admin operations team and their operations manager, Sarah Evans' recommendations from our leadership onshore throughout the month, they were announced as one of the August 2020 Nailed It Awards winners. A well-deserved recognition. Congratulations, team! To end the week on a high note, GSI also conducted a financial wellness seminar for its employees last 4th of September. Hosted by Ms. Eunice Garcia Alvarez and Ms. Anne Margaret Malyari, certified investment advisors of PruLife UK, they taught us how to be financially smart, which is relevant to today's challenges. Expanding GSI social media platforms, we're happy to announce that all of our videos will now be housed in our new YouTube channel. Feel free to subscribe and discover our team's talents and skills. Moreover, we're still looking for a new media specialist and a senior portfolio analyst. If you're interested, please visit our LinkedIn page for more information. We will also announce vacancies for other exciting roles in the coming weeks, so stay tuned. And that's it for this edition of Weekly Wrap. For more information about Guild Solutions Inc., please visit our website at guildsolutionsinc.com.au. For more news and content, please like and follow our official page in Facebook. You may also follow us on LinkedIn for more job opportunities and news about the company. For this week's wrap, my name is Chino. Thank you for watching and have a great week ahead.
Our offshore operations remained stable last week. We remained to deliver at full capacity all week with very minimal outages due to isolated issues and at-home internet service interruptions. On the second week of hyperlocal, Micah showed us around Paete, Laguna, arguably the nation's wood carving capital. Apart from Paete, a quick tour of Caliraya and Pagsanhan were also included. We were also overwhelmed with 4,000 followers on social media. With 4,500 on Facebook and more than 250 on LinkedIn, GSI social media following is truly increasing. Our local teams also received several praises from our leadership onshore. My team admin operations were given recognition for promptly addressing emails and other tasks, delivering at full capacity and processing as much tasks as if we were in the office. Stuart Stubbs, head of our department, as well as our manager Sarah Watson, recognized our efforts to deliver the best output possible even while working remotely. Congratulations, team! And that's it for this week's wrap. For more information about Guild Solutions Inc., please visit our website guildsolutionsinc.com.au. You may also follow us on LinkedIn and Facebook using the social media handles you are seeing on your screens. For this week's wrap, my name is Miko. Stay safe to all and have a great week ahead.
This edition of GSI Thought Leaders is made possibly by Guild Solutions Incorporated, helping your business grow. Email us at enablingyou@guildsolutionsinc.com.au to understand how we can help you sustain and improve your business operations. And Enabling Media, enabling content through new media. Email us at makethingshappen@guildgroup.com.au to find out how we can help your business achieve more.
We're back. Thanks for staying with us. You're still watching Thought Leaders with Nick Velevski. We have covered amazing and variety topics today, such as the virtual learning, how they have transitioned, the bite-sized session, and the bite-sized learning where flexibility, he talks about flexibility, and how to empowering people with the 70-20 and 10 learning framework. He have also mentioned the content creation over content creation on content creation over content creation on how we can use the internet on our advantages. We would like, if you would like to join the discussion, just type in your questions on social media. My friends Malen, Kim, and Pancho will be with you all throughout the show. Also, our online submission form is now ready to accept requests for certificate of attendance. For our viewers in the Philippines, just type in bit.ly/GSI request. If you're seeing on the screen, I repeat, just visit bit.ly/GSI request. You will be asked for the name of today's shows, today's date, and the name of our special guest. Make sure that you have filled the form out correctly, as only valid entries will be processed. All right, before we read questions from our viewers, we would like to say hello to our social media folks who is watching on Facebook and on YouTube. We share a lot of viewers right now. Thank you, Pancho, Malen, and Kim for moderating. We would like to say hello from Cebu, from Pampanga, and from all over the Philippines. Thank you for watching and sending us love. Hi, Gerald Kim Magbu, Nolly Barbeto, Robin Rose Manalo, and thank you also for sharing insights on today's talk. All right. Jel, are you seeing the viewers today?
Oh yeah, definitely, Micah. For the first time, we're also streaming live on LinkedIn. So to all of you who are watching us from LinkedIn, hello. After this live stream, you can also watch the event again if you want to go back and review. We'll be publishing it on YouTube, and we'll also export it as a podcast on Spotify. All right, Nick. In the interest of time, maybe just 2 to 3 questions. You ready?
Yeah, fire away.
All right, Micah. Would you like to ask questions?
Yep. This question is from Romel Roy Romanilos. Will this happen to the education system? The blended and distance learning modalities for the student even after the pandemic?
Yeah, good question. In short, I feel as though it already has to a certain extent, particularly here in Australia. Even children in primary school, so 5 years of age, their first year of school, they have been required to do remote learning during this period of time. So it obviously will not be, the norm for them ongoing. There still obviously will be the face-to-face requirement. But in particular, when it comes to extracurricular, activities or education, I should say, outside of the traditional elementary schools or high schools, I do think that it will be more and more common online. A lot of the universities and registered training organisations are already doing it, and it will be the way of the future. So, yeah, great question. I do think that it's already happening, and it will just continue to evolve even more moving forward.
All right. Thank you so much, Nick. We have here a second question from Remedios Fulgosino, who is watching on YouTube. On blended learning modality with elementary pupils or students, the challenge of focus, efficiency, and effectiveness are present from day to day. Can you suggest how we can deal with this?
Yeah, another really good question. And it is something that we've experienced here specifically at Guild over the last 12 months as well. So in regards to how, the challenge with focus, efficiency and effectiveness. In my mind, it's all about creating those healthy boundaries and having the structure and the routine. It is all too convenient that, your computer may be set up on your kitchen table or you're walking past it at night and there's distractions, or there's other individuals in the household that may cause a distraction as well. In which case, making sure that you've got those healthy boundaries, try and create a separate environment so that if you're going to go and study, you know that that's your space and that's what you're devoting the time for, and try and remove those external influences from you. If it's something where you're fortunate enough to have that extra space, that would certainly be a recommendation of mine. And then making sure on the flip side as well, that once you complete that study or program or you complete work for the day, and then it's time to spend time with family or friends, that you don't inadvertently get into that trap of logging back in as well, because that's where it can be quite unhealthy if it's something that happens over a sustained period of time, in terms of blending or blurring those two lines between work, study, and or personal life. So try and create those separate spaces, create dedicated time, and have structure and routine would be my recommendation there to deal with that.
Mm-hmm. Just to add on to that, Nick, Remedios, if you are an educator or a teacher, you may want to coordinate with your local government units. Some of them have community learning hubs for pupils, most especially for elementary students who cannot afford to go online, or if their homes are just a bit inconvenient. I've seen that in Pasig City. I've seen that in Quezon City. So my recommendation is for you to interact with them, because your local city governments might be able to help you with resources. So yeah, sorry. Thanks, Nick. Thanks, Micah. Do you have any more questions for us, Mike?
I have here one last question for Nick. This from Jel, actually. What is the learning team's role in helping the company adapt to the changing times?
Yeah, so with this one, learning, as I've touched on throughout today's discussion, it is something that will be required in an ongoing capacity. So I really think that the true partnership, the collaborative relationship with all of the relevant stakeholders across the business will be critical here. If I use, let's say, technical training as an example, whether it's systems or product that you're trying to enhance the skill set in, we as learning professionals cannot be the experts in every field, every topic, every system. In which case, what we need to do is build really strong relationships with those key stakeholders and deliver programs in partnership with them. So with that in mind, in terms of how are we going to adapt during these changing times, if there is change teams or broader human resources or people and culture teams that are assisting with the evolution of how your team or your organisation is going to adapt during these changing times, it's something that I would strongly encourage you to work very closely with those key stakeholders, because as learning experts, we can help shape the delivery of the content and what will work best based on some of those things that we've touched on today, and do it in combination, in tandem, to be making sure that you get the right information across in the best way possible to get the best learning experience for the audience that's attending.
Thank you so much, Nick. Unfortunately, these are the only questions we can accommodate today. Thank you to my colleagues Malen, Pancho, and Kim for helping me moderate the social medias with a lot of viewers. Thank you guys for sending us love, and thank you guys for listening to our talk. Del and Nick, back to you.
Thank you, Micah. Excellent management of social media. Nick, just very quickly, I know we've gone over time, and thanks for staying with us amid that. Looking back at what happened in Australia, actually including us, because you're watching over us as well, on and off operations, uncertain if operations will come back, an abundance of uncertainty all around. What should be everyone's takeaway or learning from this pandemic, most especially from your perspective in learning?
Yeah, challenge yourself would be my advice here. Challenge yourself to be your best. Raise the bar. Don't be complacent. At the very outset, when we kicked off today's session, I spoke about if you're not going to change and evolve with the environment around you, well, you'll quickly be left behind. So, yeah, making sure that you're continuing to evolve yourself. Be resourceful. I know that there's limitations at times, whether it be around budgets or resourcing or time itself, but that content curation over content creation is certainly a key takeaway as well. So be resourceful. There's a heap of information available online and a lot of free software and technology that you can utilize as well to enhance the learning experience. So explore, challenge, and be creative would be my key takeaways. And just remember, not one size fits all. So, just because, it's working in one organization doesn't mean it will work in the next. So you need to find what works for you and develop those strong relationships internally within your respective businesses.
And there you have it, ladies and gentlemen. Nick Velevski, Guild Group's Head of Learning. Thank you, Nick, for your time. Really appreciate
my pleasure. Thank you for the invite. Really enjoyed today's discussion. And if there are any other questions from the viewers or listeners today, feel free to shoot them through via Guild Solutions Inc. or send me a message on LinkedIn as well. Happy to cover off and provide any additional information there as well.
All right. Thank you, Nick. You have a good day.
I will. Thanks very much, Jel, and enjoy the rest of your day, everyone. Thank you.
Will do. Thank you, Nick. Friends, this is Thought Leaders. We hope you enjoyed this show as much as we enjoyed having all of you here today. On behalf of my co-host, Micah, who's done an excellent job managing social media, our director, Sam Sotare, our social media moderators, Pancho, Malin, and Kim, this is Enabling Media, enabling content through new media. My name is Jel. Thanks for watching. Maraming salamat po. I'll see you next time.
Bye-bye.
Catch this show next week as a podcast on Spotify. For comments and suggestions, email us at makethingshappen@guildgroup.com.au.
This edition of GSI Thought Leaders is made possibly by Guild Solutions Incorporated, helping your business grow. Email us at enablingyou@guildsolutionsinc.com.au to understand how we can help you sustain and improve your business operations. And Enabling Media, enabling content through new media. Email us at makethingshappen@guildgroup.com.au to find out how we can help your business achieve more.